you should study isn't the bust, it's the boom that should make you feel leery. That's the thrust of my theory.
Hayek once said that his theory was designed to explain the typical 19th century business cycle. Business cycles have been going on for a long time, throughout the 19th century. And there were a couple of main stylized facts that business cycle theorists in the 19th century, who were the forerunners of Wicksell and Mises and Hayek, were trying to explain. One were the aggregate swing in the economy. Why does output as a whole go up and down? But secondly, why are the swings so much more pronounced in heavy industry, in producer goods industries, in industries that the Austrians would identify as being more capital intensive or further from ultimate consumption? So raw material industries, industries that produce very durable goods, goods that take a long time to yield their final services to consumers. So that was this disproportionality of the business cycle in investment goods, in producers' goods industries, was a fact that business cycle theorists tried to explain. The Austrian explanation was that, well, these are time-sensitive, interest-sensitive industries, so it's due to swings in the interest rate. In the Austrian capital theory, as Hayek is elaborating it, and his big contribution is to integrate the capital theory more prominently into business cycle theory than Mises or Wicksell had. In this theory, we need to think about the time profile of outputs in the economy, to reduce it to just two periods, the mix between production for the present and production for the future.
The capital structure is key.
His view was basically that business cycles consisted of a boom followed by a bust or a collapse of the boom, and what he was really aiming to explain was why the boom couldn't go on forever, why there was an upper turning point, what was inherently rotten at the core of the boom, why it had to fall apart.
Malinvestments wreck the economy.
Basically, it's a credit bubble story, not using bubble in the technical sense of a self-feeding frenzy, but an unsustainable path based on expansion of the supply of credit beyond the supply of genuine savings.
The boom gets started with an expansion of credit. The Fed sets rates low. Are you starting to get it?
A healthy economy is one in which savings is coordinated with investment. Resources are allocated between present consumption and future consumption in accordance with the preferences of savers. So we need to get the right proportions between those two things. When people save, they save for something. They save for the sake of financing future consumption. When I say consumption, it could be sending kids to college, or it could be for retirement. The trade-off between present and future is captured by the interest rate. Right? The interest rate is so many percent per year, right? So it's a time-related variable.
The market coordinates time with interest.
The way Wicksell thought about it, people who are saving are supplying loanable funds to the market. People who want to invest are demanding loanable funds. So the interest rate is the price that clears the market for loanable funds. You could put it another way and say it's the rate of exchange between the present and the future. Böhm-Bawerk called it the premium on present consumption in exchange for future consumption. Right? So if I'm willing to give up a unit of present goods, I can have 1 plus the interest rate units of future goods. If the central bank injects more credit into the economy, it kind of pads the supply of savings. It makes it look as though there are more savings than are really available to complete investment projects that are initiated.
That new money is confused for real loanable funds, but it's just inflation that's driving the ones who invest in new projects like housing construction.
Then entrepreneurs embark on projects that take too long to complete, too roundabout in Böhm-Bawerk's phrase. There are different ways to produce consumer goods. You can produce them in shorter, less roundabout ways that come to fruition more quickly, or there are always at any point in time other ways to produce things that take longer to come to fruition, but that are more productive, but aren't currently being used because they take so long. And entrepreneurs look at the time value of money and say that takes too long. And so that's what comes to ruin when it becomes clear that consumers are not really willing to wait for the fruition of the projects that are initiated.
The boom plants the seeds for its future destruction. The savings aren't real, consumption's up too, and the grasping for resources reveals there's too few.
When interest rates don't stay low, when they rise because inflation starts to rise or because the central bank decides that the boom is getting out of hand and raises interest rates, then they're caught out. Then there's a crisis.
The boom turns to bust as the interest rates rise, where the cost of production price signals relies.
So one way to understand this in very concrete terms, no pun intended, is to think about building a house, or think about someone who is building a whole row of houses. He thinks he's got a pile of bricks big enough to build 10 houses. When he gets halfway through, he discovers, oh, wait a minute, I only have enough bricks to build 8 houses. Right? But he's already laid the foundations and started to build houses 9 and 10. So in order to salvage what he can, he's going to have to knock down houses 9 and 10. Some bricks are going to be lost. Right? There's waste when investment commitments are made that can't be carried through because everything can't be disassembled without losses. So he's going to discover that his investments were overly ambitious. He's going to have to abandon some of them, and there's going to be losses in the meantime. And until goods get reallocated, you're going to have a recession. But there's going to be a permanent loss to the economy's growth potential because of the mistaken investments that were made. Not everything's perfectly reversible. So when asset prices are artificially high, then it looks like the thing to do is to produce more assets. If housing prices are very high, the thing to do is to produce more housing. When it turns out that that price is not clearing the market, that there are lots of unsold houses at that price, the price needs to fall. And then you will have houses that were built at costs that can no longer be covered by the price they turn out to realize at a distress sale, at a foreclosure auction.
The boom was a binge, that's a matter of fact. Now it's devalued capital that makes up the slack. Whether it's the late 20s or 2005, booming bad investments seems like they'd thrive. You must save to invest, don't use the printing press, or a bus will surely follow, an economy depressed.